Russell Brand is a famous actor who also has a YouTube channel where he shares his thoughts and ideas about the things that are going on in the world. One of his videos popped up in my feed a little bit ago, and I noticed that he had a tattoo of Jesus on his arm, and it made me start to wonder what exactly he believes about Jesus. So I searched his beliefs, and I came across a video of him explaining the significance of his tattoo and also his religious views. And after watching the video, I can definitely see why a lot of people might be drawn to his view, but I also see a lot of reasons for why they shouldn't be. Let me explain. So let's roll the clip where he starts talking about what exactly he believes, and if you find yourself struggling to really understand what he's saying, don't worry, I'll try to interpret it for you afterwards, and I'll do my best to simplify it. Alright, here we go.
I got this tattoo done recently of Jesus Christ, the symbol of the resurrection, the possibility for divine God consciousness to be expressed through mankind. Whether or not you identify as a Christian, for me that's not where I go with religion, because you'll notice just on this arm is Ganesh from the Vedic philosophy, and over here there's a Sikh symbol. There's all manner of deities and symbols and signs adorning my body, primarily because I believe in what Aldous Huxley called perennialism, that divinity, the sublime, that which is transcendent of material, that which pertains to our awareness as individuals and as a collective, can be found through certain practices, whether those practices are psychedelic experiences, meditative experiences, experiences of devotional love and service, that we can connect to the oneness, the fraternity, the human family. So yes, I love Jesus Christ. Yes, I love Ganesh and Krishna and all of the prophets, because for me it seems that the prophets all convey one message.
So in a nutshell, Russell's view seems to be that Jesus is one of the many prophets that pointed us beyond the illusion that we're individual people, and he helped us to see that we're really all just one, and that one thing that we all are is God. So when Russell talks about God or the divine or the sublime or the oneness, he's really talking about the same thing. So to keep it simple, from here on out, we can just start referring to it as the oneness. So if you hear all of this and you aren't quite sure what exactly this oneness is, well, that's because according to Russell, this divine oneness transcends language. So we can't really define it or articulate it with language, but we can become more aware of it by doing things like taking psychedelics or doing transcendental meditation, and by acting in service to one another. For those of us that don't want to spend our time living like the Buddha or taking illegal drugs, we need to do things like living in service to one another. That's an idea that I think all of us are sympathetic to, and I think that all of us like that idea. But when it comes to his view, that idea is riddled with problems. So to start, let's just think about this from a practical perspective. Okay, so Russell's view tells us that we're living well when we live in service to one another. But the problem is, because the oneness doesn't talk, we have no way of gaining any clarity of what exactly that looks like, and the issue is people disagree over what service to others looks like. Just think about it when it comes to something like Black Lives Matter and the insurrection. Now, both groups believed that they were acting in service to others, and both groups believed that they were doing what they had to do in order to make America a better place. But what they obviously disagreed on is what it means to act in service to one another, and they disagreed on what was needed in order to do so. In fact, both parties can arrive at the conclusion that the other group is the real threat to America, and in order to live in service to the other people, they need to stop that threat. So we've all seen that if there is no agreement on what it means to live in service to one another, then it actually doesn't lead to harmony. It actually creates conflict rather than preventing conflict. I suppose it might be at this point that Russell might point to the prophets. But if the prophets told us how to live in service to one another, as Russell seems to think, then again, I don't know how you can reconcile the different religions that have radically different views of harmony. For example, Muhammad told us to fight those that don't believe in Allah until everyone submits to Allah. But I don't think that that sounds like that unifying message that Russell believes that all of the prophets spoke about. But leaving that aside, let's go ahead and talk about some of the bigger issues with Russell's view. Russell tells us to create our own religion, but he also says that our religious views aren't meant to tell others how to live.
My point is this, that find a way of relating to divinity, to the divine. Create your own religion, but religion is for you, not for others. Religion is not you should do this. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. But that's just power and institutionalization. Religion is a thing that is for me and not for me to tell other people how to do.
But think about that. A critical reason that Russell gave us in support of his view was by pointing to the message that came from Jesus and the prophets. So for example, on his view, when Jesus told us to love one another, he was saying that in order to get us closer to the oneness. But that's Jesus telling us how to live our lives. But according to Russell, our religious views shouldn't entail telling others how to live their lives.
Houston, we have a problem.
This is a critical problem for Russell's view because he can't have it both ways. Either people can tell other people what to do based on their personal religious views, or Russell needs to stop claiming that Jesus and the prophets were in support of his view when they told people what to do. But unfortunately, it gets worse for Russell, because if people shouldn't tell other people how to live their lives, then we shouldn't only reject what Jesus and the prophets say, we should also reject what Russell says, since Russell also just got done telling us how to live our lives.
Find a way of relating to divinity, to the divine. Create your own religion. But religion is for you, not for others, and not for me to tell other people how to do. So.
Yikes.
We've got a problem here.
Now, I could definitely go on, but you get the point. Russell's view has some pretty significant issues, and it just isn't feasible. But there's one more thing that I think we just have to talk about.
Yes, I love Jesus Christ.
When Russell says that he loves Jesus, I respect that. I just don't know who he's referring to. Because to love someone, you have to be able to allow them to speak for themselves and not dismiss what they say when they say things that you don't like. The real Jesus said a lot more things than just the things that Russell believes goes along with his view of the oneness, but Russell seems to disregard or ignore those things. I mean, if I love my wife, but I disregard everything that she says when she disagrees with me, then it's not really her that I love, but instead it's the thought or the idea of her that I love. So Russell says that he loves Jesus, but the real Jesus said that if you love him, you'll keep his commandments. So the real Jesus would actually deny that Russell loved him, since Russell has put another God before him. The real Jesus said that he's the only way, and if you didn't believe who he was, then you would perish in your sins. The fact of the matter is, Jesus is a real person, and real people aren't robots. If you love someone and you have a relationship with them, then you have to allow them the ability to contradict you and to tell you that you're wrong. A Jesus who always agrees with you on everything and never contradicts you isn't another person. He's really just a thought that you've created in your own image. In Christianity, God isn't a concept that can't be defined or described like the oneness. Instead, God is relational. We really don't have any way to know if the oneness loves us, or really what that would even specifically mean on that view, and the oneness has no way of demonstrating that love to us. But on Christianity, God not only told us that he loves us, but he also proved and demonstrated that love for us so that way we could be sure about it. As the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. Think about it. The entire Bible in a nutshell is about how we keep choosing to do things that are wrong over and over again, and we fail to live up to God's and even our own moral standards. But we also learn that God is perfect, and if God is perfect, that means he's perfectly just. And if you think about a judge who's perfect in justice, then you'll know that he has to make sure that every single wrongdoing will be punished. If he even let a single wrongdoing go unpunished, then he can't be perfectly just. So that's obviously bad news for all of us who have ever done anything wrong in our lives. But the good news is, God is not only perfectly just, he's also perfectly merciful and perfectly loving as well. This means that he cares for us and he wants us to be rightly related to him despite the fact that we have chosen to do wrong. And this is the point where God's justice and mercy and love all come together. The creator of the universe loved us so much that he put on human flesh and came into our world and lived the perfect life that we freely chose not to live. He took on the punishment that we deserved, he died in our place, and he offered the life that he lived to us, so that way our salvation would be judged by the life that he lived rather than the life that we lived. And he offers that life to us as a free gift. All we have to do is accept it. So contrary to this oneness conception of God that we can never be assured actually loves us, on Christianity, God not only loves us, but he was willing to show his love to us through the life and death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, which we can verify in history. Now, about that claim that Russell made when he said that we can create our own religion, that's something that a lot of people seem to think today, including the football star Aaron Rodgers apparently, which is what I talk about in detail in this video. So go ahead and click on this video here to see what I mean, and I'll see you over there. But the next time that someone tells you that
the prophets all convey one message,
what are you gonna say?
What do you mean?